all street life, to a certain extent, starts fair. Sometimes with a spiritual memory even. Pre-dying soul clap, your father dying even. Maybe I've pushed the city too far. My sensitivities to landfill districting and minstrel whistles, white supremacist graffiti on westbound rail cars all overcome and reauthored. Reauthored by revolutionary violence that chose its own protagonist or a muted stage of genius, the garbage is growing voices. Condensed Marxism. For warrior depressives, underpasses in their pockets because they just might be deities or decent bid on the panther name of merciful Marxism. Disquieted home life, a metaphor for relaxing next to a person who is relaxing next to a gun. I stare at my father for a few seconds, then return to my upbringing. Return to the souls of Ohio black folk. You know, revolution damn near pagan at this point. You know what the clown wants? The respect of the ant. Wants to interpret pain only. Wants to pull a 38 out of a begging bowl. Wants me to hurt my hand on this pen. I'm not tired of these rooms. Just tired of the world to give them a relativity. My only change of clothes prosecuted, the government has finally learned how to write poems, shootouts that briefly align, that make up a parable. Or parables like, white bodies are paid well. Do white men even have leaders? Are all white people white men? A rat pictures a river, can almost taste the racial divide, can almost roll a family member's head into a city hall legislative chamber, knows who in this good book will fly. All I do is practice, Lord. Decided not to talk out of anger ever again. Met my wife at the same time I met new audience members for our pain. We pass each other cigarettes and watch cops win the city gone, uniquely linear Harlem of the West, do a true universe. I will always remember you in fancy clothes, my wife said. So here I sit, twisting in silk ideation. Rifle made of postbellum tar, targets made of an honest language. The San Francisco poetry is how God knows it is me whining. Riding among the lesser respected wolves, lesser observed militarization, Dixie List prison bookkeeping, the California Great Coast are coming, lynch mob gossip and bourgeois debt collection, it's tempting to change professions mid-poem, in the Chicago briefing the white sergeant saying blank slate for all of us after this black organizer is dead, standard academics toasting $2 wine at the tank parade, they am nothing, Lord, just nuclear cobblestones, gun line athleticism, and the last of the inherited asthma, children giving white dolls to play with and fear, facial expressions borrowed from rich people's shoestrings. I can hear hate and teach hate and call tools by people names and name people dead to themselves. No one getting naturalized except federal agents soon. Carving the equator in the throat soon. Sorry to make you relive all of this, Lord, all of this pre-dying monarchy, friends putting up politician posters and snorting the remainder of the pace, minstrel script shoveled into the walls by their elders, my children sharpening quarters on the city's edge. For these audiences, I project myself into a ghost-like state. For these gangsters, I might do the same. Every now and then, take a nervous look east. Sleep becomes Christ, sleep starts growing a racial identity. Do you ever spiral, Lord? Has the gang age betrayed us? Be patient with my poems, Lord. So much pain is a point to crime. It has to be if race traders come with it, Lord. Is that my revolver in your hand? You know, better presidents than these of yonder cages have called us holy slaves, filled the school libraries with cop documentaries. Baby, I don't have money for food. Well, I don't have a present moment at all. You know, societies wander together like hopeful drops of a virus. Citizen testaments bent on offering me a nation of breadwinners to hold me back, like it's a Brinks. I wrinkle the concrete sometimes like flesh. My Martin Luther King permanence turned away from a podium into the reeds like God is a dangerous twin Black August to the mountaintop balcony on my bedroom floor. You know, they steal you from the earth itself and suspend you in your broken neck from their fullest euphoria. From the loyalty oath of their gray superstitions, loyalty oath of their agrarian reform, I return to my mother completely disrespected. For peeling the heat off of purgatory, they kill poets like me. Walk me away from my poems, never to be heard from again. In this final industrial complex, or bloodlines picked over, picked through, a sport and spiritual death of your devil at least half made, police become a pretty word. I'm reading a lynch mob shoestrings like they were tea leaves, teaching you how to write about cities. It's the 25th century in the mirror, people. Tyranny against your chump change, you're a chump to be mocked even with a gun in your car. A cupid of needlework spelled tune for the proletariat, the relapse ministry. Talented people curled up in a fetal position next to a diamond dime, just another service day in the theatrics of tea house fascism. In a bouquet of surveillance cameras, in the poverty of God. New blue eyes, corpses of water, newly potted presidency of one big shiny coin. If you ask animated capitalism and other non-literal voids, killing is white freedom. The deification of hyphens, Medicine bread and picture shows, great protesters in LA, guests of our ink, drop kicking rows in the graveyard, DC mink like the stone torn in half, the pen advances, despite CIA guideposts, despite non-African past and futures, a metaphorical but not surreal day in a horn-ridden life, horn player improvising king, like a radio prize fight featuring Shango himself, a real hand sweeps the land of racism, may I return to the ground, may I make progress with the gun. I'm Mother Emanuel. They put on music that evening. A swinging type body language for you to drink with fermented $5 bills for your body language, some applause, my past stomach lining, neither a good thing nor a bad thing, like being psychic on the way to a lethal injection, it'll sit you down with Lady Day. Lady Day leading you through surrender their souls to Africa too soon. Polity thought floating in the cup of water, she saved me. Accessing my stomach, accessing the love of the American lynched, cold sleeves wooden and avalanche into the wrist. Our Mother Emanuel, avalanche into the sharp keys, pain, the deal you make with pain. A piano makes sense for them. You know, laying hands on the world gradually, addressing the bend and necks on the streets of the north, traveling, sailing in pain, repeating pain in the north, 10 trigger fingers on that piano if harmony would have me, putting 100 fights on every direction offered a Lady Day, leaning on trees again, recruiting the countryside itself, lay your plan out on this lightning, make your poems the corner pocket of men, I've greeted the blues itself, America may clean my dead body but will never include me, there goes the poet, killing without killing, never mind this painting of your language, may I be a meaningful lynching, a crow's passing, good and dead by the afternoon. And in conclusion, I go to the railroad tracks and follow them to the station of my enemies. A cobalt-toothed man pitches pennies at my mugshot negative. All over the United States, there are toddlers in the rock. I see why everyone out here got in the big cosmic basket and why blood agreements mean a lot and why I get shot back at. I understand the psycho-spiritual refusal to write white history and take the glass freeway. White skin tattooed on my right forearm, ricochet sewage near where I collapsed into a rat-infested manhood. My new existence is living graffiti in the kitchen with a lot of gun cylinders to hack up. House of God in part, no cops in part, my body brings down to Christmas. The new bullets pray over blankets made from the old bullets. Pray over the 28th hour's next beauty mark. Extrajudicial Confederate statue restoration, the waistband before the next protest. But by the way, time is not an illusion, Your Honor. I will save your deaths for last. You are witty, Your Honor. You're moving money again, Your Honor. It has only rendered one thing. Non-white cops and prison guard shadows reminded me of spoiled milk floating on an oil spill, a neighborhood making a lot of fuss over its demise, a new lake for a Black Panther party. Malcolm X's ballroom jacket slung over my son's shoulder, the figment of village. A new noose to a new white preacher, all in an abstract painting of a president. Bought slavery some time, didn't it? The tangent screeches of military boats and election Tuesday cars. A cold-blooded study in leg irons, proof that some white people have actually fondled nooses. Their sundown couples made their vows of love over opaque piece of plastic in bold action audiences. The Medgar Evers II is definitely my favorite law of science. Fondled news clippings and primitive Methodists, my arm changes imperialisms. Simple policing versus structural frenzies. Elementary school script versus even wider white spectrums. Artless bleeding and the challenge of watching civilians think of terrible rituals they have around the corner. They let their elders beg for public mercy. I'm gonna go ahead and sharpen these kids' heads in the arrows myself and see how much gravy spills out of family crest. Modern fans of war, what, with their t-shirt poems and t-shirt guilt, and me having on the cheapest pair of shoes on the bus. I have no choice but to read the city walls for signs of my life. You know, apparently too much of San Francisco was not there in the first place. This dream requires more condemned Africans, or put another way, state violence rises down, or still life is just getting warmed up, or army life is looking for a new church and ignored all other suggestions, or folktale writers have not made up their minds as to who is gonna be their friends. You know, this is the worst downtown yet. And I've borrowed a cigarette everywhere. I mean, I've taken many a walk to the back of a bus. They're let on out the back of a storyteller's prison sentence, down on out the back of slave scars, but this is my comeback face. I left my watch on the public bathroom sink and took the toilet with me. Threw it at the first bus I saw. Eating single mothers half alive. It flew through the bus line numbered and on out the front of the White House. Hopefully you find comfort downtown, but if not, we brought you enough cigarette filters to make a decent winter coat. A special species of handshake, let's all know who's king, and what's the lifespan of uniform cloth. This coffin needs to quit acting like those are birds singing. Rusty nails have no wings, have no voice other than that of a white world dying. Their book pages in the gas pump, catchy, isn't it? The way 3 nooses is the rule, or the way potato sack masks go so well with radio codes, or the way condemned Africans fought their way back to the ocean, only to find waves made of 1920s burnt up piano parts, European backdoor deals, and red flowers for widows who spent all day in the sun mumbling in San Francisco. Red flowers, but what's the color of a doctor visit? There are book titles in the streets. Book titles, Like hero, you make a better zero. Or hey, fur coat lady, the president is dead. Or pay me back in children. Or they hung up their bodies in their own museums and other book titles pulled from a drum solo. Run here, hero. Lied to hiding place. All the bullets in 10 precincts know where to go. There's no heaven nor any other good idea in the sky. Politics means that people did it and people do it. Understand that when in San Francisco and other places that was never really there. I bet this ocean thinks it's an ocean, but it's not. It's a 6th Mission Street. All know who's king. King of thin things. You know, like America, I'm proud and deserve to die. I'm gonna eat my dinner extra slow tonight in this police state candy dispenser you all call a neighborhood. No set of manners goes unpunished. Never mind a murderer's insomnia or the tea kettle preparing everyone for police sirens.